Welcome to the first video of C++ course. In this video we will discuss the things that you need to know as a beginner C++ programmer. So there are 5 things that we are mainly going to focus on in this video, and these are listed here. So first of all, we've got general purpose programming, which basically means that C++ can be used in building cloud systems and banking applications, web browsers, all of these kind of applications and apps systems. It is not a specifically niche trained language. It can basically do everything. Secondly, we have case sensitive. So C++ is actually a case sensitive language, which basically means that this name, if we were to have this variable, let's say name, is not equal to this name. They are different. This is a lowercase and this is uppercase, and here we've got examples. So this Audi, and then lowercase Audi, these three words in C++ will be totally different. They are not the same, they are totally different. Thirdly, we have a statistically typed programming language, which basically means that if you were coming from a Python, in order to, let's say, make a variable and then assign a name to it, we are going to look at this code. So just we are going to write name equal to, then 2 quotation marks, and then we can write our name. But that's not the case in C++. In C++, we have to tell the system that what exactly we are trying to do, what exactly data type we are trying to use. So here we've got C++ syntax, in which we have a string and then we give it a name and then equal sign, and we are also assign it to Tom. Hence, it's important to remember that everything that we do in the C++ will be statistically typed, and which basically means that we'll have to assign the data types to it. Fourthly, we have a popularity. C++ is the third most popular language according to the TIOBE, and it is basically because it is used in building Mac OS, Windows, and Linux systems. It's also used in web browsers like Safari, Opera, and Chrome. It is a quite popular language, and it has its credibility in the industry. Finally, we have a pros of C++. It has dynamic memory allocation, which basically means that memory allocation will be in the control of C++ programmer instead of the program itself, the compiler program. Secondly, it is statically typed programming language, so that is also an advantage, and that's because when you have a long program of 1,000 lines, the programmer, if the error was to come up at the end, the programmer will be going back and forth, and that's not something that you will get in the C++, because you will be assigning the data type, so you know everything what's going on in the program. And thirdly, we have it is faster for the larger programs, and it's also because of the first 2 points. It has the dynamic memory allocation, and it is also statically typed programming language. And finally, we have a complex syntax. Now this can be advantage, because if you do learn the C++ syntax, it will be pretty easy for you to move on to the next any other programming language, because it is considered quite complex, or one of the most complex, because it is considered one of the most complex programming language. So if you do learn C++ programming, hopefully it will be easier for you to move on to the next programming languages. So now we are going to look at how are we going to make our first project using Xcode. But if you do use Visual Studio, or if you are using Windows and you do want to get the guide to how to make your first project, then what you can do is you can go to the first link in the description, and you will get the guide to Visual Studio and also to Xcode, if you do want to understand it there. So we'll first open the project, and you'll get this screen. So we create new project. Just make sure that it is a Mac OS and it's also a command line tool. We'll next it, give it a name, so it can be intro, and then simply we'll next the thing. We'll click on the next, create. We can go to the main, xmain, close this down, and then just also get rid of this. You can get rid of this too, no need of this. So now we have just a basic program, and we are also going to use namespace. So using namespace std. So this will be the basic syntax of pretty much every program that you are going to write in the C++ initially as you are starting. So we have this specific in syntax. So let's just understand exactly what this specific index is. So first of all, here we've got include IOStream, which is basically a library that will allow us to use cout and cin, which is used to output and also take inputs in the C++. We'll understand that later. Secondly, we've got here namespace std. If we don't have namespace std, we'll have to use it. We'll have to specify the std in our programming. So we'll use this, which basically means we don't have to use std. And then finally, we've got here int main, and whatever we are going to code, our code's going inside here. So let me just write it down. Code. So whatever's going on, so whatever codes that we are going to write inside, and that's how it's going to work. If I was to write it above here or here, it's just not going to work. Let's just write our first program, hello world, and let me write a line of code, and then we'll understand what exactly this line of code is doing. And here we have a line of code that we need to understand. So first of all, we've got cout, which is always used to output. So in Python you have print, or in other languages there are different methods to output, but in the C++ we will be using cout. And then we have a chevrons too, which are also known as insertion operators, and we must also put them when we are outputting something. And then we have us hello world string and text. Whenever we want to output the text, we must have it inside these two quotation marks, and then ultimately we end the line with these semicolons, and it's also a must. So all these things are just must, and they will be included in every single output that you are going to do. Let's just see if it works or not. As you can see, it worked. However, you can see this program ended with exit code 0. If we want it to go to the next line, so let's say if I want this to be just on the one line and then this on the second line, I can simply go ahead, put a space on two chevrons, and then end L, which basically meant end line. And what it will do is it will put the hello world on the first line, and then it will have this piece of text on the second line. Let's just go ahead and run it. As you can see, it does it effectively. Now let's assume that if we want to put two different texts for some reason, or if we want to put a number, we simply use again two chevrons. So whenever we are going to add something, we are going to use again two chevrons. And here I can say once again hello, just a space in between. So this will also output on just one line. As you can see, this will also output on just one line. So if you do want to two or three different things for some reason, you can do this way as well. You just need to put these chevrons between them, and then you can do your thing. Now we are going to look at output numbers here, but numbers are going to go without these two quotation marks. In the C++, you must always use these two quotation around the text. We don't have to use it around the number, but it will output the content. So let's just put a space here, and as you can see, you can output, but we can't do this with the hello world. Just write hello world without the quotation mark, and it will not run. It simply does not run, because in the C++ it's a rule that you must put the quotation marks around the text in order to output it. Secondly, it's also, as we've discussed earlier, it is a case sensitive language, which basically means that if we were to, let's just for a minute cancel this bit, if we were to put, instead of putting cout in lower case, if we were to just use uppercase, it will not work. If I run it, it just does not work. So even though it's exactly the same thing, it is a cout, but it does not work in the capital letters. We must put in the lowercase and then same goes for the handle. And as you can see at the end, we've got this semicolon, which is must. That's it for today's video, and in the next video we are going to look at the variables and data types, rules and regulations, as well as arithmetic operators. We are going to make a small program, a calculator program, that is going to cover all these things, and it will be easy for you to understand it. Hope that you understood these basic things.